In February 2025, a local rancher found a pickup truck half buried in snow on the outskirts of Brier County. The plates were long expired, the engine was cold, but inside the glove box, there was something no one expected. A cassette tape that shouldn't have survived 26 winters. And that tape might finally unlock the disappearance that's haunted this valley since 1999. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because what we found inside that truck changed everything. Brier County, Montana, February 2025. The wind off the Bitterroot Range sanded the plains down to bone. Diesel, pine, and something older riding the cold. Caleb Morris had been feeding cattle since before sunrise, the old tractor's headlights cutting tunnels through the blowing snow. That's when he saw it, a shape hunched in the ditch along County Road 6. At first, he thought it was a bear carcass or maybe a rolled ATV. But as he drew closer, the outline sharpened into something unmistakable. A late 90s Dodge Ram, coated in frost, its front end crushed against a drift. The driver's side window was gone. A nest of twigs and dead grass filled the seat. The ignition key was still there, rusted in place. Caleb shut off the tractor and climbed down, his boots cracking through the ice. He wiped the frost off the license plate and read it twice. 5C-4821. It meant nothing to him, until he called it in. Within 2 hours, the Brier County Sheriff's Department had the truck cordoned off with a yellow tape. Deputy Sheriff Lily Dunn crouched near the driver's door, jotting notes while the evidence techs swept for prints. Plates expired August 1999, she murmured. That's the year Ashley Ellison disappeared, right? The tech nodded. Same make, same color, same model. Down to the dent in the tailgate, Lily leaned closer to the open glove box. Inside was a brittle plastic cassette case. The label had peeled off, but someone had written across it in faded blue ink. For whoever finds this. The tape rattled when she picked it up. Bag it, she said quietly. By nightfall, the news had already hit Facebook. Abandoned truck found. Could this be linked to missing teen Ashley Ellison? 200 miles away, in a cluttered studio apartment in Missoula, Evelyn Hart sat at her editing desk, headphones around her neck, scrolling through the post. She wasn't supposed to be chasing cold cases anymore, not after what happened on her last shoot. But when she saw that photo, the frost-covered truck under that endless gray sky, something deep in her gut told her this wasn't just another mystery. It was an open wound. And she couldn't look away. The 3-hour run from Missoula crossed a landscape that felt pre-wound, fields, barns, mountains set like gears waiting to turn. Frozen wheat fields, abandoned barns. The mountains pressed up against the horizon like an old scar. Evelyn Hart hadn't planned to be back on the road so soon, not after last year's documentary, The Glacier Hollow Murders, the one that had ended her career at True Depth Productions. The network called it unethical involvement. She called it getting too close to the truth. But the call of an unsolved case still had gravity, especially one that whispered through the same cold Montana wind that had shaped her childhood. She'd read every archived article she could find on the way there. Ashley Ellison, 17, disappeared November 13th, 1999. Last seen at a gas station on Route 90, driving her father's Dodge Ram. No body, no witnesses, no closure. And now that same truck had resurfaced. 26 years later. She arrived at the Brier County Sheriff's Department just after sunset. The parking lot was half buried in snow, the building lit by a single buzzing street lamp. When she stepped inside, the scent of coffee and damp wool filled the narrow lobby. Deputy Lily Dunn looked up from behind the front desk. Late 30s, steady eyes, a badge that had seen more winters than it should have. "You must be the documentarian," she said. "Hart, right?" "Yeah. I called earlier. Evelyn offered her press credentials. I'm just looking for a statement about the truck discovery. Off record's fine. Lily hesitated. You journalists always show up faster than the forensics team. Occupational hazard, Evelyn said, smiling faintly. Lily led her down a short hallway to the evidence room. Inside, under dim fluorescent light, sat a portable tape player and a clear evidence bag labeled Item 04, Audio Cassette, Unknown Content. We found it in the glove box, Lily explained. Hasn't been played yet. We're waiting for the lab to make a copy. Evelyn stared at it through the plastic. The ink on the tape's label had bled into the paper. For whoever finds this. Something about that handwriting stirred an unease she couldn't name. Mind if I film? Evelyn asked quietly. Not yet, Lily replied. We don't even know what's on it. Could be personal, could be criminal. Evelyn nodded, but her eyes didn't leave the tape. Later that night, she checked into a roadside motel just off the highway. The neon sign outside buzzed through the storm, throwing pink light across the wallpaper. She set up her camera on the dresser and began filming her own intro, a habit she couldn't quite kill. March 2nd, 2025. I'm in Brier County, Montana. Yesterday, police recovered a 1997 Dodge Ram from a frozen ditch. The truck is believed to belong to Ashley Ellison, who vanished in 1999. Inside was a cassette tape labeled For Whoever Finds This. I'm here to find out what's on it and who wanted it found. She stopped recording, replayed the clip, and listened to the static behind her voice. For a moment, it almost sounded like breathing. Sleep came late. The wind pushed against the thin motel window like a restless animal, and in the half-dark, Evelyn dreamed of the truck. Headlights on, engine idling, snow swallowing the road. A girl's voice whispered through the static, "You shouldn't have come here." She woke just before dawn. By the time she reached the sheriff's office again, the forensic techs had already duplicated the cassette. Lily met her at the door, holding a single unmarked CD. "Lab cleared it for listening," she said. "You want to hear it?" They sat in a small interview room, the walls lined with corkboard and missing person flyers, so old the ink had faded to ghosts. Lily inserted the disc into a portable player. For a long moment, there was only static. Then, faintly, a voice. Female, trembling, half-choked with fear. "My name is Ashley Ellison. If you're hearing this, I didn't make it home." Evelyn's breath caught. Lily reached instinctively for her notebook. "He said he was broken down near the old mill. I stopped to help." "Stupid. God, I was so stupid. He's got something in the back of the truck. I think it's... A muffled sound followed. Scuffling, breathing, then a heavy thud. The recording hissed for several seconds before the voice returned. Weaker now. "Please tell my dad I'm sorry about the dent in the tailgate." Then silence. Lily stopped the playback. The hum of the fluorescent lights filled the space between them. That's her," Evelyn whispered. "Her voice." "We'll need to verify," Lily said softly. "But yeah, it sounds like it." Evelyn stared at the CD spinning in the player. Every instinct in her screamed that the story was bigger, that the tape was more than a dying confession. Someone wanted it to be found now, and someone else might be watching to see who found it. The mill straddled the river's split, where the current stalled and sound carried farther than it had any right to. Once, it had been the heartbeat of Brier County. Now it was a mausoleum of corrugated steel and silence. Evelyn parked at the gate, snow crunching under her boots as she stepped out. Her camera lens fogged immediately in the cold. She adjusted her scarf, scanning the landscape. The rusted grain silos, the broken windows that looked like blind eyes. The sheriff's deputies had been here that morning, judging by the tire tracks. The yellow tape fluttered weakly from a fence post, half buried in drifts. She switched on her camera and began filming her first field narration. "The old Ruther Mill has been abandoned since 2003, but Ashley Ellison mentioned it in her final recording. This is where she said she stopped to help a man with a broken-down truck. The question is, was he real? She lowered the camera and listened. The air felt too still, the kind of silence that made even breath sound intrusive. Inside, the mill smelled of mold and oil. Ice coated the floor where a pipe had burst years ago. Old machinery stood like sleeping giants, their belts long rotted away. Evelyn's flashlight swept across the walls, graffiti, initials, someone's faded handprint. She aimed the beam lower and froze. Footprints, fresh ones. They led deeper into the shadows, half filled with melting snow. She followed cautiously, recording the trail. The prints ended near a half-collapsed stairwell leading to the basement. A whisper of movement came from below, just a faint scrape of metal on concrete. "Hello," she called softly. No answer. The sound came again. Then, a voice, low, male, and strained. "You shouldn't be here." Evelyn's pulse surged. "Who's there?" But the basement swallowed her words. When she reached the bottom of the steps, her light flickered over a figure crouched near the wall. A man in a dark parka, middle-aged, pale eyes that reflected the beam like a deer's. His hands were dirty, his nails rimmed in oil. "Were you following me?" she asked, trying to keep her tone steady. He shook his head. "I come here to think. It's quiet. Used to work here." His voice rasped like gravel. "Did you know Ashley Ellison?" The man didn't answer immediately. His gaze shifted to the floor, where the ice was etched with faint circular marks. Tire treads, long since frozen in place. "She shouldn't have stopped," he murmured. Evelyn took a step closer. "What do you mean?" The man rose slowly, his breath clouding the air. "Some folks around here didn't like her daddy. Said he was poking into things that weren't his business. When she disappeared, the town was quiet for the first time in years." "Quiet," Evelyn repeated. "You mean relieved?" He looked at her then. Really looked. Just quiet. A distant siren wailed somewhere up the highway. The man flinched, then backed away. "You should go," he said again, retreating into the shadows. "They don't like outsiders digging." "Who doesn't?" Evelyn called after him. But he was gone. Outside, snow had started again, soft and relentless. Evelyn walked back to her car, every instinct screaming that she just met someone who knew more than he wanted to admit. That night, she reviewed the footage frame by frame in her motel room. The man's face was clear enough for identification. Gray hair, sunken eyes, the kind of expression shaped by years of regret. But something else caught her attention. When he turned toward the tire tracks frozen into the floor, her camera had caught a reflection in the ice. A faint, reversed image of something painted on the underside of the stairs. Evelyn adjusted the contrast and zoomed in. 4 letters appeared through the distortion. E-L-L-S. Els. The first half of Ellison, a name scratched into steel 26 years ago, hidden in plain sight. Evelyn's hands trembled as she pressed pause. The girl had been here, and someone had tried very hard to erase her. By morning, the storm had thinned into a chalky fog that clung to the hills. Evelyn packed her camera and laptop, slipped on her parka, and drove toward town. The mill's images replayed in her mind like static. The man's pale eyes, the echo of his voice, and the ghost of Ashley's name frozen into the steel. At the sheriff's office, Lily Dunn was already at her desk, a paper cup of coffee steaming beside a stack of reports. She looked up when Evelyn entered. "You didn't go out there alone last night, did you?" Evelyn hesitated, "just to get a few exterior shots." "Don't lie to a cop," Lily said flatly. "The mill's security cameras picked up your headlights." And someone called in a trespass complaint around midnight. Evelyn's stomach tightened. "Who?" Lily slid a photo across the desk, a still frame from a surveillance camera. The man in the parka stood half in shadow, looking toward the lens. "That's him," Evelyn said. He was inside the mill. Name's Ray Haldane, Lily replied. Used to be a maintenance worker there back in the 90s. Lives out past the river now. Keeps to himself. He was questioned in the original Ellison case, but nothing stuck. Why? Because half the county was questioned, Lily said. Ashley's father made sure of it, and Winters made sure the other half kept quiet. Evelyn leaned forward. Was he? Lily took a long sip of coffee. Let's just say James Ellison didn't leave this town peacefully. He died in a hunting accident 3 years after Ashley vanished. People stopped asking questions after that. Outside, the fog began to lift, revealing the faint outlines of distant hills. Evelyn pocketed the photo. I want to talk to Haldane. Be careful, Lily warned. He's not dangerous, just haunted. Haldane's property sat at the edge of a frozen marsh, a scatter of rusted vehicles and broken fences. A German shepherd barked from a chained post as Evelyn parked by the gate. She stepped out slowly, calling, Mr. Haldane, I just want to ask you a few questions. The door of a small trailer opened. Haldane appeared, squinting against the gray light. You again? You said last night that some folks didn't like Ashley's father, she said. Why? He studied her for a long moment, then motioned her toward the porch. Coffee's cheap, but it's hot. Inside, the trailer smelled of diesel and damp wood. Old newspaper clippings lined one wall. Local tragedies, obituaries, the kind of headlines most people try to forget. One caught her eye. 2 teens missing. Mill Road tragedy, 1993. You collect cold cases? She asked. Just the ones nobody else wants, he said, setting 2 chipped mugs on the table. Your tape's got everyone talking again. You listened to it? He nodded. They played a snippet on local radio this morning. Sounded like her. Same scared breath I remember when she used to stop by the mill to pick up her dad. You knew her well? Not really. She'd wave, always polite, the kind that made people softer just by talking. He looked out the window. Then one night she was gone, and James Ellison lost his mind. Started digging up half the valley thinking someone buried her there. What about the 1993 case? Evelyn asked, tapping the clipping. 2 teens, same road. Haldane's jaw tightened. That was before Ashley. They found the car in the river, but not the bodies. People blamed the current. Some blamed the mill. Said the water table under it's cursed. I just think the town likes forgetting. Evelyn switched on her recorder. Do you think Ashley's case is connected? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he opened a drawer and pulled out a small cassette, identical to the one found in Ashley's truck. Found this in the mill last spring, he said. Didn't tell the cops. Thought they'd say I planted it. The label was blank, except for a smear of faded ink. Can I play it? Go ahead. She said it in her handheld player. The tape hissed, then a man's voice filled the room. Low, steady, almost confessional. If they ever find the truck, they'll find her too. The river keeps its secrets, but the ground doesn't. The recording ended with a click. Evelyn's heart thudded. Do you know whose voice that is? Haldane's eyes glistened with something between fear and recognition. Sounds like Ellison himself. Her father? He nodded. Or the ghost of what he became. They sat in silence, the cassette spinning in its plastic shell, the wind pressing against the trailer like an uninvited guest. Finally, Haldane said, If you want answers, go to the quarry south of town. That's where he spent his last winter before the accident. You'll find something there, but don't go alone. That evening, Evelyn returned to the motel, mind racing. 2 tapes now, one from Ashley, one that sounded like her father. Both left behind for someone to find. She uploaded a short teaser clip to her YouTube channel. 2 cassettes, 2 voices. 26 years apart. What connects them? Within hours, the video had 20,000 views and a storm of comments. The dad did it. Check the quarry. She's gonna end up like Ashley. Evelyn scrolled through the feed, unease twisting her gut. Outside, a pickup engine idled briefly, then drove off. She went to the window, peering through the blinds. Nothing but fog and headlights fading down the road. Still, she locked the door. The tape's last line echoed in her head. The ground doesn't keep its secrets. The next morning broke brittle and pale, the kind of light that seemed to erase color from the world. Evelyn drove south along a cracked two-lane road, her windshield streaked with salt and her thoughts with questions. The quarry wasn't on any modern map. She'd found it in an old county survey file archived in the Brier Library's microfiche. Ellison Limestone, 1974 to 2002. It had shut down the same year Ashley disappeared. By the time she reached the turnoff, the road had narrowed into gravel and ruts. Frosted pines leaned close, their branches whispering secrets in the wind. When she emerged from the tree line, the quarry yawned open before her. A colossal wound carved into the earth, its pit half filled with black, frozen water. She parked near a rusted chain-link gate. A faded warning sign swung loosely. No trespassing, property of Ellison Estates. Evelyn set up her camera on the dash and hit record. March 4th, 2025. This is the Ellison Quarry, once owned by James Ellison, father of missing teen Ashley Ellison. He spent the last months of his life here before a hunting accident ended him, but according to a second tape, he may have known where his daughter's truck and body were hidden. She clipped on her flashlight and stepped through a gap in the fence. The air smelled of limestone dust and rain, long gone. The wind funneled through the quarry like breath through a throat. Halfway down the slope, she noticed something jutting from the ice near the water's edge. Metal, dull red beneath the frost. Her pulse quickened. She scrambled closer, crouching beside it. It wasn't a car, not yet. Just a fragment of door panel, paint eaten away by decades of corrosion. But stamped faintly into the metal was a serial code. Could be machinery, she whispered to the camera. Could be something else. A sound broke the stillness, the soft crunch of boots above her. She turned sharply, beam sweeping across the rocks. A silhouette stood at the rim, half shrouded by fog, too far to see clearly, but tall. Watching. Evelyn's throat tightened. Hello? No reply. The figure stepped back and vanished behind the ridge. She climbed after it, slipping on the frozen incline. At the top, the footprints were already filling with snow. Only one thing remained, a cigarette still burning, the paper crinkling in the wind. Back at her car, she radioed Lily. Deputy, it's Evelyn Hart. I'm at the Ellison Quarry. There's someone else out here. Lily's voice crackled through static. Stay where you are. Patrol's 10 minutes out. Do not engage. But Evelyn's gaze had fallen to the far end of the pit, where a line of wooden posts jutted from the ice like broken teeth. Something fluttered there. Fabric, pale blue. She ended the call and started toward it. The path narrowed into a ledge. As she approached, the wind carried the faint metallic scent of decay. The fabric was caught on a wire fence post, a strip of denim, frayed and sun-bleached. Beneath it, half buried in the frozen ground, was the outline of a small leather bag. Her breath fogged the lens as she whispered into the mic. A handbag. Possibly early 2000s make she knelt, brushing frost away with her gloves. Inside the bag was a compact mirror, a hair clip, and a folded Polaroid photograph. She turned it toward the light. Ashley Ellison, smiling beside her father in front of a hunting cabin. On the back, written in careful teenage handwriting, Fall 1999, before everything changed. Evelyn's chest constricted. The wind seemed to rise, carrying a faint echo that might have been memory or voice. If they ever find the truck, they'll find her too. Headlights appeared on the ridge. The patrol unit. Deputy Lily's SUV crept down the path, tires spitting gravel. She climbed out quickly, gun drawn. Evelyn, I told you to wait. "There's something here," Evelyn said, holding out the Polaroid. Lily lowered the weapon, her breath visible in the cold. "Where did you find this?" "Buried near the ice. And someone was watching me before you came." Lily looked around, scanning the ridges. "This quarry's 20 acres of blind spots. Whoever it was is long gone." She bagged the items carefully. "We'll get a forensics team out here." Evelyn watched as the deputy sealed the evidence bag. Her heart pounded with the thrill of discovery, and something darker, a whisper of guilt. Back in the patrol car, Lily studied the Polaroid. James Ellison claimed he built this quarry for stone export, but locals say he used it for storage. Old vehicles, scrap, sometimes worse. If there's something buried under that ice, it'll take heavy equipment to get it out. "Then we dig," Evelyn said. Lily gave her a sharp look. "We follow procedure. You film, I investigate. Deal?" Evelyn forced a smile. "Deal." That night in the motel, she replayed the day's footage. When she zoomed in on the burning cigarette left at the ridge, a detail emerged that made her blood run cold. Printed on the filter was a faded logo, Ruther Mill Security. Someone from the mill, past or present, had been there first. As she stared at the frame, the audio from her camera picked up a faint sound she hadn't noticed before. Not wind, not snow. A man's voice, almost a whisper. "Stop digging." By dawn, Evelyn hadn't slept. The whisper on the audio haunted her more than the frozen quarry. She'd replayed the clip a dozen times, that low male voice saying, "Stop digging." She isolated the sound, filtered out the wind. The voice was distinct now, even intimate, like someone standing inches from her microphone. But the timestamp showed it had been recorded before she reached the quarry rim. Someone had been close enough to her camera to speak, before she even realized she was being watched. When she arrived at the sheriff's department later that morning, Lily was in the briefing room, staring at a wall map of Brier County pinned with new markers. "Morning," Evelyn said. Lily didn't look up. "Morning. We pulled your footage. The cigarette filter matched a brand used by Ruther Mill's private security back in the early 2000s. Problem is, that company folded in 2004. Most of their guards moved away." "Most," Evelyn echoed. "But not all." Lily sighed. "You think it was Ray Haldane?" Evelyn shook her head. "The voice wasn't his. I think it was someone who worked for Ellison. Maybe someone protecting what's buried out there." Lily crossed her arms. "You realize how this sounds? A dead quarry owner, a missing girl, phantom security guards. You're building a ghost story." Hard Evelyn met her gaze. "Then why did someone leave 2 tapes and a Polaroid for me to find?" The deputy didn't answer, but her silence said enough. She didn't like the direction any of this was heading. That afternoon, Evelyn drove to the county records office, a squat brick building that smelled of paper and old coffee. The clerk, a man with wire-rimmed glasses, helped her dig through property archives. "Ellison Estates," she said, "looking for any transfers after 2002. He thumbed through a stack of forms and stopped. "Here. The quarry was sold in 2005 to a holding company, Bitterroot Industrial LLC. Shell firm, no local address." "Who signed it?" He squinted. "Names redacted. But here's a notarization by Deputy Sheriff Harold Dunn." Evelyn froze. "Dunn, as in Lily Dunn?" The clerk shrugged. "Probably her father. He was sheriff until 2008. That evening, Evelyn met Lily at a diner on the outskirts of town. The place was nearly empty, the kind of neon-lit outpost that made every conversation sound like confession. "You didn't tell me your father was sheriff when the quarry changed hands," Evelyn said as she slid into the booth. Lily stiffened. "Because it's irrelevant." "He notarized the sale of Ellison's property to a fake company right after the case went cold." "You think that's irrelevant?" Lily's eyes hardened. My father did what he was told. The county wanted the land repurposed. He wasn't part of any cover-up. I never said he was, Evelyn said softly. But someone used that sale to hide something, and now that the tapes are surfacing, they're panicking. Lily's jaw clenched. You're saying this voice, the one on your camera, belongs to whoever ran that company? I'm saying someone's trying to scare us off. The waitress dropped off 2 mugs of coffee. For a while, neither woman spoke. The wind outside howled across the parking lot, scattering grit against the glass. Finally, Lily said, "If you're right, then this isn't just a cold case anymore. It's a criminal conspiracy buried under a quarry." Evelyn nodded. And someone's still guarding it. That night, Evelyn created a write-once private log, hashing each clip, SHA 256, before an unlisted upload to prove chain of custody. Tonight, I learned that the Ellison Quarry was sold under a fake company in 2005, right after the sheriff's office closed the case. A mysterious voice warned me to stop digging, but I can't, because someone buried more than a girl out there. She turned off the camera. Outside, snow drifted against the motel window. She heard an engine idle briefly in the parking lot, then cut off. When she looked, only tire tracks remained. The same tread pattern she'd filmed at the mill. Evelyn's pulse quickened. She grabbed her phone and messaged Lily. "Someone's outside the motel. Same truck from the quarry." Seconds later, her phone buzzed with Lily's reply. "Stay inside." Lock the door, Evelyn obeyed, sliding the bolt shut. The hum of the old heater filled the silence. She pressed her ear to the door, listening. Nothing. But when she checked her camera's memory card later, she found a new file she hadn't recorded. Timestamp, 11:42 p.m. File name, listen.mp4. She clicked play. Static. Then a man's whisper, so close it felt inside her skull. "You're looking in the wrong place, Evelyn." Her breath caught. The voice wasn't angry this time. It was almost amused. She replayed it, adjusting the pitch. Beneath the whisper, faint but unmistakable, was the echo of dripping water. Not quarry water, not snowmelt. A pipe, underground. The mill. The next morning broke gray and silent. The snow had stopped, but the cold bit harder, sharp, surgical. Evelyn sat in her car outside the diner, replaying the mysterious clip again. The whisper was faint, but the dripping water was rhythmic, echoing, the kind of resonance that only came from concrete tunnels. She knew where she'd heard that sound before, at the Ruther Mill. Lily arrived a few minutes later, sliding into the passenger seat, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. "You didn't sleep, did you?" "Neither did you," Evelyn replied. "Listen to this." She handed over the phone and played the file. The deputy's expression darkened as the whisper came through. "You're looking in the wrong place, Evelyn." "That's not Haldane," Lily said. "Too clean." Younger voice, maybe 30s or 40s. "And the dripping?" "Could be groundwater. Could be the old irrigation tunnels under the mill. Most of them were sealed when the county condemned it." "Except someone's been down there recently," Evelyn said. "We follow the sound." Lily hesitated. "You realize we're probably trespassing again." "Then we call it an unsanctioned site inspection," Evelyn said, "for public interest." The mill was quieter than before, swallowed in the stillness that follows a blizzard. Snow crusted the metal roof. Icicles hung from the eaves like fangs. Inside, the air was damp and metallic. Evelyn's flashlight beam caught dust motes drifting through shafts of pale light. She led the way past the old machinery toward the back of the structure, a section she hadn't explored before. There, half hidden behind collapsed shelving, was a rusted drain cover. A trickle of dark water seeped through the grate, freezing in thin veins across the floor. "This is it," Evelyn said. "Same acoustic pattern." Lily knelt beside it, brushing away debris. County blueprints said this tunnel connects to the quarry's lower aquifer, runs a mile underground, but it was supposed to be sealed. Not sealed anymore, Evelyn murmured, pointing her light at the bolts. Fresh tool marks scored the rust. Someone had opened it recently. Lily pried the grate loose with a metal bar. A puff of cold, fetid air rose up, the smell of stagnant water and time. Beneath them, a narrow concrete shaft sloped downward into darkness. "After you," Lily said. Evelyn managed a dry laugh. "You've got the badge." They descended carefully, their lights cutting small circles through the dark. The sound of dripping water grew louder, echoing off the walls. The tunnel floor was slick with algae, and the air tasted of iron. 50 feet in, they reached a small chamber where the tunnel split in two. On one wall, faded paint marked the path. East Quarry. Drainage, Mainit Access. 1998. Evelyn aimed her camera at the left tunnel. Maintenance Access. 1998. The year before she disappeared. Lily's flashlight flickered across something carved into the concrete near the sign. A heart shape etched with a key. Inside it, a plus question mark. "Ashley," Evelyn whispered. They followed the left tunnel. The dripping grew into a steady rhythm, like footsteps pacing just ahead of them. Another 50 yards and the passage opened into a flooded chamber, knee-deep water shimmering under their beams. Pipes snaked across the ceiling. Something floated near the far wall, a sheet of warped plywood, tethered by an old rope. As they waded closer, Lily froze. "Evelyn, look." Carved into the wall behind the board was a single word, written in something that looked like rust, or blood too old to tell. "Listen." Evelyn swallowed hard. "That's the word from the file name, listen.mp4. Lily pressed her hand against the wall. "There's a cavity behind this." She wedged her multi-tool into a crack and pried. The board gave way with a groan. Behind it was a recess lined with bricks, a hollow man-made alcove. Inside lay a plastic container wrapped in waterproof tape. Lily lifted it carefully. Evidence box. They carried it back to the dry section of tunnel and opened it. Inside was another cassette and a small folded page sealed in plastic. Evelyn unwrapped the note. The handwriting was neat, almost delicate. "If you're hearing this, you're closer than anyone's been in 26 years. But it wasn't just one man who took her. The truth is under your feet, in the dark she left behind." "J.E. James Ellison," Evelyn whispered. "Her father." Lily inserted the new tape into her handheld player. Static hissed, then a man's voice. Tired, gravelly. "They said I was crazy, that the quarry was cursed, but I heard them, the men at night, moving her truck, sealing the tunnel. If I go missing, don't trust the badge." Lily's face went pale. "He's talking about my father." Evelyn's camera light wavered. "Lily!" But the deputy had already stepped back, voice shaking. "He notarized the sale." He was here. He knew above them, somewhere in the mill. Metal clanged, a heavy, deliberate sound. Both women froze, then another, closer. Footsteps. Lily killed the flashlight. The tunnel fell into darkness. The only sound was their breathing and the faint drip of water echoing like a clock counting down. The footsteps reached the shaft entrance, paused, then retreated. After a long silence, Evelyn whispered, "Someone followed us down here." Lily exhaled slowly. "Then they know what we found." They packed the cassette and climbed back to the surface. The mill stood silent again, but the tire tracks in the snow outside were fresh, leading toward the highway. Lily turned to Evelyn. "You wanted a story, Hart. Now you've got one." Evelyn looked back at the open drain, steam curling from its mouth like breath from the earth. "No," she said quietly. "Now we've got proof." The drive back from the mill was silent. The cassette lay on the seat between them, sealed in an evidence bag. its presence heavier than stone. Snow whispered against the windshield, a soft, steady hiss. Lily kept both hands on the wheel, eyes fixed ahead. Her jaw was tight, the muscle ticking at her temple. "You okay?" Evelyn asked finally. "No," Lily said. "And I won't be until I know whether my father was part of this." Evelyn hesitated. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." Lily's voice cracked, then steadied again. "I became a cop because of him. He used to say the badge means you stand between truth and fear. But if Ellison was right..." She trailed off. "Then maybe the badge stood for something else back then." They reached the sheriff's department just before noon. Inside, the air felt different, heavy, watchful. Officers moved slower. Conversations dropped to murmurs as Lily entered with the evidence bag. She walked straight past the front desk and into the records room. Evelyn followed, keeping the camera discreetly tucked under her jacket. Lily pulled a box from the shelf marked Ellison Case Files, 1999 to 2000. Dust motes rose as she opened it. Inside were photos, handwritten reports, cassette logs, and at the bottom, a manila folder labeled Confidential, Audio Transcript. The paper was brittle. Lily unfolded it carefully. Interview, November 23, 1999. Subject, Sheriff Harold Dunn. Interviewer, Detective Mark Talbot, State Division. Talbot: "You said you were first on scene at the Ellison Quarry?" Dunn: "That's right." Talbot: "And you found evidence of a second vehicle?" Dunn: "We found tracks, but the snow made them unreadable. I don't think the father did it." Talbot: "Then who?" Dunn: "I think he saw too much. And someone made sure he shut up." Lily's hands trembled as she lowered the paper. "They interviewed my father, but this transcript was never filed in the official report." Evelyn exhaled. "Someone buried it." Lily turned toward her. "Hart, if this gets out..." "Then people will finally know," Evelyn said. "This isn't just about Ashley anymore. It's about what they covered up to protect Dara." Knock sounded at the door. Both women froze. Deputy Carl Winters, older, heavyset, eyes too calm, stepped inside. "Morning, ladies," he said, tone easy. "Heard you've been poking around old files. Anything I should know about?" Lily forced a smile. "Just standard review. We're re-verifying archive evidence." Winters nodded slowly. "Good. Always nice to see initiative." He let the pause stretch too long. "Careful, though. Old ghosts have sharp teeth." He left, door shutting softly behind him. Evelyn's voice was barely a whisper. "He knows." "Winters was my dad's partner," Lily said. "He's been with the department 40 years. They looked at the tape bag between them. Item 09, audio. J. Ellison, 1999. "Let's get this digitized before anyone else does," Evelyn said. They drove to a small independent lab on the edge of Missoula, a place Evelyn had used before when network producers didn't want official oversight. The technician, a quiet woman named Marla, ran the tape through a converter and cleaned up the noise. As the playback began, both women leaned close to the speakers. "James Ellison," recorded voice. "They think I don't know, but I do." The badge came for her, not the truck. "I saw the lights by the mill that night. 2 cruisers. They said it was a rescue. It wasn't. One of them wore Dunn's jacket." The audio cracked and faded. Then another voice. A whisper, overlapping. "Don't trust the badge." Evelyn stared at the waveform, her skin crawling. "That's the same whisper from the motel recording." Marla frowned. "Then whoever made that file had access to this tape." Lily rubbed her temples. "Someone copied it. Played it back for you, like they wanted you to hear it." "But why?" Evelyn asked. "To see what we do next." Outside, sirens wailed, distant, then closer. Marla looked up, uneasy. "Expecting company?" Evelyn asked. Lily checked her phone. "No, let's move." They slipped out the back just as 2 sheriff's vehicles pulled into the lot, Lily led the way through an alley, her breath visible in the cold. Evelyn followed, heart hammering. "You think Winters called it in?" "I think someone inside realized what we found," Lily said. "And they're not letting it out of the county." They reached Evelyn's car and climbed in. Lily looked at her reflection in the rear-view mirror, her own badge glinting faintly on her chest. "I don't even know what this means anymore," she whispered. "If my father was part of it, if Winters was—" Evelyn met her eyes. "Then you do what your father said. You stand between truth and fear." Lily nodded once, jaw set. "Then we burn it down." She slid the badge into an evidence envelope, sealed it, and wrote the time across the tape. "From now on," she said, "I'm not a deputy. I'm just Lily Evelyn gripped the wheel. Then we start over and finish what they buried." That night, in a motel 2 towns over, Evelyn uploaded another encrypted clip to her private server, footage of the tunnel, the cassette, and James Ellison's warning. She titled it simply, Chapter 5, Don't Trust the Badge. Then she closed her laptop, lights off, the darkness thick with the hum of her own heartbeat. Somewhere outside, a truck engine idled for a few seconds, then stopped. She didn't look this time. The snow thinned by morning, but the cold was knife-sharp. Evelyn and Lily drove north into the timberland, guided by an old photocopy of a hunting map they'd found folded in the back of James Ellison's box. It was dated February 2000, with a faint red X drawn deep within the forest. There was no cabin marked on the official survey, just empty terrain and a note in Ellison's handwriting, where the silence began. Lily kept glancing out the window, scanning the tree line. If Ellison was hiding something, this is where he'd go. My dad's patrol logs stop in this area around 2001. Evelyn nodded. Then maybe this is where it all ended. They turned off the main road onto a narrow trail rutted with ice. Branches scraped the sides of the car like fingernails. The GPS flickered, lost signal, then died. Completely. After another half-mile, Lily pointed. There! Through the trees they saw it. A small log cabin sagging under years of snow. The roof had collapsed in one corner. Its windows were boarded, its chimney broken. No footprints, no smoke. Just stillness. They parked and approached on foot. Evelyn filmed silently, her breath fogging the lens. Every creak of snow beneath their boots sounded unnaturally loud. Lily tried the door. Locked. She circled to the back and found a narrow cellar hatch half buried in snow. "Help me with this." They pried it open, the hinges screaming. A draft of stale air hit them, heavy with dust and the faint metallic scent of decay. The ladder rungs creaked as they climbed down. Their flashlights revealed a cramped space lined with rusted shelving, old jars, and, against one wall, a desk. A tape recorder sat there, coated in grime. Next to it, a torn sheet of paper, weighted with a bullet casing. Evelyn brushed it clean and read aloud. "If they find me, they'll say I did it." But the girl wasn't the only one taken. There were others. The quarry was a door, not a grave. J.E. Lilly whispered. He knew. He was trying to leave proof. Evelyn pressed record on her camera. "James Ellison's safe house," she said softly. "Hidden 20 miles from Brier County. Evidence indicates he continued documenting the case years after police declared him missing." Lily powered on the old tape recorder. To their surprise, it whirred to life. Static filled the cellar. Then Ellison's weary voice emerged. Softer now, near the edge of breaking. "They came for me last night. Said the investigation was over. Dunn signed off on the quarry sale. Winters drove the truck. Long pause. The faint sound of rain on a roof. I buried what I found under the water line. But not everything. If anyone's hearing this, look for the unmarked grave north of the mill. The badge won't protect you." It never did. The recording ended with a click. Lily's face had gone pale. Winters drove the truck. He was the one who moved it from the quarry. Evelyn exhaled. Which means the truck was more than evidence. It was bait. Something they used to shift blame. She noticed a box beneath the desk. Inside were photographs, Polaroids curled and discolored by age. One showed the quarry at night, headlights cutting across snow. Another depicted two sheriff's cruisers parked beside a red pickup. In the corner of the frame, just visible, stood a man in uniform, Sheriff Harold Dunn. Lily sank onto a stool, hands shaking. That's him. That's my father. Evelyn lowered the photo gently. Lily, I need air, Lily whispered, climbing the ladder before Evelyn could stop her. When Evelyn followed moments later, she found Lily standing by the tree line, breathing hard. The wind had picked up again, stirring powder from the branches. He was there, Lily said. That night. He knew they killed Ellison. Evelyn didn't respond. She didn't need to. The truth was written all over the deputy's face, disbelief curdling into rage. Then, in the distance, came a low rumble. Engines, two vehicles approaching slowly along the ridge. Lily grabbed the camera. Get in the car, she hissed. Now! They sprinted through the trees, boots slipping in the snow. Evelyn glanced back, headlights weaving through the forest like predators. When they reached the car, Lily threw it into reverse, fishtailing down the icy trail. Evelyn clutched the camera to her chest. Do you think they saw us? They don't have to, Lily said grimly. They know exactly where we've been. They didn't stop driving until nightfall. The headlights of pursuers never appeared again, but neither woman relaxed. They checked into a roadside motel miles from the county line. Lily sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the Polaroid of her father under the harsh lamplight. Evelyn uploaded the new tape to her encrypted archive. We'll leak it if we have to. Lily didn't look up. He used to say every lie in this world starts with silence. Guess he knew that better than anyone. Evelyn turned off the light. The snow outside had stopped again, leaving a sky so clear it almost glowed. Somewhere out there, under the frozen earth, the quarry's water shifted faintly, as if something beneath it had just moved. By dawn, the air over the valley shimmered with fog. The quarry lay cauterized and black, a scar the county kept mistaking for landscape. Evelyn set up her tripod on the ridge while Lily unpacked the gear from the trunk. Neither spoke. The silence between them was heavy, not with anger, but with the knowledge that once they broke the ice, literally and figuratively, nothing would stay buried. North side, Lily said, checking Ellison's note. He wrote unmarked grave under the water line. That puts it near the drainage outflow, just below the ridge. They hiked down carefully, boots crunching through crusted snow. The ice at the water's edge was thin, translucent. Beneath it, dark shapes twisted, broken rebar, debris, tree limbs. Evelyn tested the ground with her boot. It cracked. She knelt, brushing snow aside. There's a cavity under here. Air pocket. Lily crouched beside her, eyes scanning the surface. That's not natural. Something's hollow underneath. They set to work with the small collapsible shovels Lily had brought. The ice groaned with every strike. After several minutes, a sliver of something metallic glinted through, not rock, not bone. Evelyn leaned closer. That's a container. Lily used her boot to widen the hole. The edge of a steel drum emerged, its top caved in slightly, the surface slick with algae. Help me, Lily said. Together they dragged the drum onto the shore. The lid was sealed tight with rusted bolts. Evelyn filmed everything. Her breath fogged the lens, her fingers trembled. Lily wedged her knife under the rim and pried. The lid screeched open. Inside was water, murky, brown, and something submerged beneath it. A black plastic tarp. Evelyn swallowed. We should call forensics. Lily shook her head. We can't. Not yet. She pulled the tarp aside, Beneath it were bones, human, but not a full skeleton. Just a rib cage, fragments of a skull, and pieces of cloth so faded they might once have been blue. Evelyn felt her stomach lurch. "It's not Ellison. These bones are small." Lily's voice was a whisper. "Ashley." But there was something else in the drum. A small metal tin, wedged beside the remains. Lily lifted it carefully, wiped away grime, and pried it open. Inside lay a roll of exposed film and a folded note sealed in wax. Evelyn read the note aloud. "They told me to dig only one grave, but I saw 3 faces. The others went deeper, under the rock. If you find this, you're already being watched." HD. Lily froze. HD. Harold Dunn. My father, Evelyn's camera, captured her expression. The shock, the disbelief, the fracture of something fundamental. She stepped back, shaking her head. No, he must have meant something else. Maybe he was coerced." Evelyn said quietly. "He confessed." For a long time, neither moved. The fog rolled in heavier, swallowing sound. Then the faint growl of an engine drifted across the quarry. Lily's head snapped up. "Get down!" They ducked behind a ledge. A black pickup eased into view along the ridge. A figure stepped out, broad-shouldered, wearing a sheriff's parka, though the badge was unmarked. He crouched beside the car, scanning the frozen basin below. Evelyn zoomed the camera lens. Even through fog, she recognized him. Deputy Winters. He walked to the edge, hands in his pockets, studying the site like a man revisiting a graveyard. Then, slowly, he looked straight toward their hiding place. Lily whispered, "He knows." Winters raised a hand, not in greeting but warning. Then he turned and walked back to the truck. Moments later, the engine faded into the distance. Evelyn exhaled shakily. "He wanted us to see him." Lily nodded. "He's saying, 'You're next.'" They covered the drum and hauled it into the trunk, careful not to disturb the bones again. The wind cut sharp as they climbed the ridge. "Where do we go?" Evelyn asked. "Somewhere safe," Lily said. "And then we decide what to do with this." Hours later, in a borrowed garage outside Missoula, they developed the film from the tin. The images emerged slowly in the red light, each one revealing a new piece of horror. The first photo, the quarry, under floodlights, mid-excavation. Men in uniforms digging into rock. The second, a row of 3 body bags beside a truck. The third, a blurred close-up of a man's hand holding a badge. Number barely visible. 2045. Lily whispered, "That's my father's badge number." The fourth photo was different, darker, grainier, taken inside a tunnel. The flashlight beam caught a wall of faces. Not real, but carved, human-sized impressions pressed into wet clay. "What is that?" Evelyn breathed. Lily stared at it for a long moment. They said the quarry was built over an old sinkhole. Maybe it wasn't empty. She looked up at Evelyn. "We're not dealing with just a murder anymore. This is something bigger." Evelyn nodded slowly, voice trembling. "Then we find out how deep it goes." That night they stayed off the highway, driving under moonlight through endless trees. The radio crackled once, briefly, a single frequency humming through the static. Then a voice, faint but clear. "You shouldn't have opened it." Evelyn turned off the radio. The silence that followed felt heavier than the dark. The night was brittle and black when they returned to the quarry. The moon hung low over the rim, pale and watchful. Evelyn killed the headlights and coasted the car into the shadow of an abandoned loader. Lily zipped her coat up to her chin. "You sure about this?" "No," Evelyn said, checking the camera battery. "But we can't unsee those photos. There's a tunnel under here, and we need to know what's inside before they bury it again." The wind carried a faint metallic hum, air slipping through cracks in the rock. It almost sounded like breathing. They started down the slope, flashlights slicing thin beams through the dark. The ice they'd cracked that morning had refrozen into jagged glass. Evelyn's boots creaked on it as they crossed to the drainage pipe they'd opened days before. The tunnel waited, mouth black and dripping. Lily led the way this time, pistol drawn. "If anyone's down here, they won't get the drop on us." The first 100 feet were a crawl of narrow concrete. The air was damp, close, echoing every drip like a heartbeat. Evelyn filmed behind Lily, the lens fogging in the chill. When the passage widened, they found old cables bolted along the walls, rusted speaker wires, a relic of the Quarry's communication system. Some still pulsed faintly with current. "That's impossible," Lily murmured. "Power's been cut for years." Evelyn panned her camera toward one of the speakers. A faint sound filtered through the static. Not words exactly, more like fragments of voices layered over one another. Under the stone, we waited, still waiting. Lily stepped back, hand tightening on her weapon. "It's feedback." "It has to be." But the sound rose, overlapping tones, almost choral, shifting in pitch like breathing through static. Evelyn whispered, "It's the same frequency from the radio last night." They followed the cables deeper. The tunnel sloped downward, the floor now slick mud. The air smelled of rust and limestone, and something older, faintly sweet, like decayed flowers. Another chamber opened ahead. Its walls shimmered with moisture. Stalactites hung like frozen tears. In the center stood a wooden platform, half-rotted, surrounded by tools, shovels, crates, broken lanterns. Evelyn circled it, camera steady. "This is where they staged the bodies." Lily crouched by one crate. Inside were tattered cloth strips, police evidence tags, and a handful of glass slides marked with numbers. She held one up to the light. Under the faint beam, a black and white image appeared, a skull, jaw wired shut. "These were autopsy samples," Lily said quietly, "but they never went through official channels." Evelyn aimed the camera at a second crate. Inside was a small reel-to-reel recorder, its tape still threaded. She switched it on. At first, only hiss. Then, a man's voice, calm, almost formal. "Trial run, November 1999. Subject 3, female, 17. Anoxic test exposure successful. Sample moved to chamber 4. Sheriff signed clearance at 0300. Lily froze. Oh God, this wasn't just murder. They were experimenting. The tape whined, distorted. Then continued. "Remember the rule. We keep what we take beneath the stone. Voices tell us when it's full." A low, throbbing vibration filled the chamber. The speakers crackled alive again. The same overlapping murmurs as before, but louder now, closer. Evelyn backed up, camera shaking. "They're on a loop. Or someone's replaying them." Lily scanned the shadows. "We need to get out." But a soft light flickered ahead, a lantern glow through a narrow arch cut into the rock. They exchanged a glance, then moved toward it. The passage opened into a cavern wider than any mine. The floor dropped away into black water. Across it, carved into the stone, were faces, the same hollow impressions from the photograph. Dozens of them, mouth open, eyes blank, frozen in silent screams. Evelyn's breath caught. "They're casts, molds of the victims," Lily whispered, "or warnings." From somewhere beyond the water came a metallic clatter, then the slow crunch of footsteps. A figure appeared on the far side of the cavern, lantern in hand. His parka caught the light, sheriff's insignia glinting dull gold. "Winters," Lily breathed. He raised the lantern. His face was expressionless, but his voice carried across the chamber, amplified by the stone. "We salted this place so no one would see it again. And you still saw. James Ellison tried. So did your father." Lily took a step forward. "My father helped you bury them." Winters shook his head. "He tried to stop us. That's why we put him here too." He tilted the lantern toward the water. For an instant, its surface rippled, and a shape floated just beneath, pale and still, wrapped in fragments of police uniform. Lily's voice broke. "No?" Winters took another step, his reflection splitting across the ripples. "You should have listened." He dropped the lantern into the water. The light flared, then died. Darkness swallowed everything. The speaker static surged, filling the chamber like a storm of voices, hundreds, whispering and overlapping, until the air itself seemed to vibrate with them. Evelyn grabbed Lily's arm. "Run!" They stumbled back through the tunnels, flashlights jerking. The path twisted, walls slick and closing in. Behind them, the whispers followed, words now distinct. "Stay with us." "Stay?" They burst out through the drain mouth into freezing air. The quarry lay silent again under the moon, as if nothing had happened. Evelyn fell to her knees, gasping. Lily collapsed beside her, eyes wide, mud streaked on her face. Neither spoke. The camera light blinked red, recording but soundless now, the mic overloaded by static. After a long moment, Lily whispered, "If my father's down there." Evelyn stared at the quarry. "Then we bring him back." All of them. The wind moved through the rocks, carrying faint echoes that might have been voices, or just the memory of them. Morning light crawled across the motel wall like an interrogation lamp. Evelyn hadn't slept. She sat cross-legged on the bed, laptop open, scrolling through the night's footage. Static distortion. The image of the quarry flickered, then dissolved into gray noise. Every file from the tunnel, the voices, the chamber, Winters, was corrupted. She tried a recovery program, fingers trembling. "Come on, come on!" Each attempt ended the same. File unreadable. Across the room, Lily paced. She'd showered, but her eyes were hollow. "How much is gone?" "Everything past the lantern." Evelyn rubbed her temples. "It's like the drive wiped itself." "That's not an accident." Lily said, "Someone tampered with it." "You uploaded a backup, right?" "I tried." The signal cut before it finished. Silence fell between them. Outside, a snowplow rumbled down the highway, throwing light through the blinds like the sweep of a search beam. Finally, Lily said, "If Winters buried my father down there, he'll burn the quarry before we can prove it." Evelyn closed the laptop. "Then we go public now. We've got the tapes, the photos. Ellison's note, 'Proof is useless if nobody believes it,'" Lily said bitterly. "They'll say we fabricated everything." Evelyn stood. "Then we give them a story they can't ignore." By noon, they were back in Missoula, inside a cramped studio that smelled of coffee and ozone. Evelyn's friend Nate, an audio engineer, hunched over a workstation covered in wires. "This is the tape you mentioned?" he asked. Evelyn nodded, sliding over the cassette they'd found in the tunnel. "Can you clean it up?" "We think there's layered audio. Multiple voices." He threaded it through a reel deck and hit play. Static bled through the speakers. Underneath, faintly, the same murmur. "Beneath the stone." Nate tweaked the levels. The voices sharpened. One male, one female, overlapping in a call and response rhythm. Male voice. "They won't find the bodies." Female voice. "They already have." Lily stiffened. "That woman, could that be Ashley?" Evelyn whispered, "It's possible." Or whoever recorded her. Nate frowned. "You're sure this isn't staged? The frequencies are odd, like short-range radio interference." "Almost live? Evelyn repeated. He adjusted a dial. The waveform pulsed, steady and modern. "See? There's a carrier signal, low-band VHF. Someone's broadcasting this now." Lily's blood went cold. "From where?" Nate checked the meter. "Within 10 miles. Evelyn met Lily's eyes. The quarry. They were halfway there when the first column of smoke appeared on the horizon, thin, gray, rising like a flare. Lily slammed the accelerator. "He's torching it!" The closer they got, the thicker the smoke. Flames licked up the quarry rim, black against the snow. Old machinery burned, tires exploding in dull pops. When they crested the ridge, they saw Winters standing near a fuel drum, coat flapping in the heat. A pickup idled behind him, its headlights aimed at the pit. Evelyn grabbed her camera. "We have to film this." Lily stepped out, shouting over the wind. "Winters, you don't have to do this." He turned slowly, face slick with sweat and soot. "Too late. The past's got to stay buried." "You killed Ellison," she said. "You killed my father." Winters laughed, dry, exhausted. "Your father?" "He begged me to stop, said the voices were waking up. We didn't bury them deep enough." The flames hissed higher, feeding on spilled fuel. Evelyn filmed, lens shaking in the heat shimmer. "Tell me why," Lily demanded. "Why her? Why Ashley?" "She wasn't supposed to be there," Winters said. "She saw us move the bodies." She filmed it on her camcorder. Ellison came after her. The badge made sure neither talked again, Evelyn shouted. "And the experiments? The tapes?" He stared at her blankly. "We were trying to understand the sounds. The quarry isn't just stone, it echoes wrong. You hear things that shouldn't be there. After a while, they start answering." Lily raised her gun. "Step away from the edge." Winters smiled, almost gently. "You hear it too, don't you?" From the pit below came a low vibration, like the moan of shifting earth. The smoke coiled, forming shapes that flickered and vanished. Lily's hands shook. "What is that?" Winters whispered. "The ones we left." Then he stepped backward into the flames. The fuel drum ignited with a roar. A blast of heat slammed into them, knocking Evelyn to the ground. When the smoke cleared, Winters was gone. Only the burning pit remained. Crater, fire, and the faint echo of voices rising through the smoke. Hours later, fire crews swarmed the site. Reporters gathered at the barricade, microphones flashing. Lily and Evelyn sat on the hood of the car, wrapped in blankets, watching the blaze consume the past. A firefighter approached. "We'll be draining the basin once it's safe." "You ladies found something out here?" Evelyn met his eyes. "More than you want to know." She looked down at her camera. The footage indicator still blinked red. Recording. Somehow, despite everything, it had survived. Lily stared at the burning pit. "If this goes online, they'll hunt us." "They already are," Evelyn said. "But now everyone will see." That night, Evelyn uploaded the footage from the fire, the recovered audio, and Ellison's confession to her channel. She titled it, "The Quarry Voices." Full documentary. Within an hour, views exploded. Comments poured in. Skeptics, believers, conspiracy theorists. Some claimed to hear whispers through the static. Others swore they saw faces in the smoke. Evelyn watched the numbers climb. Her reflection stared back from the dark monitor, pale and hollow-eyed. Behind her, the motel radiator rattled, softly, rhythmically, like dripping water. Lily stirred on the bed. "You hear that?" Evelyn turned down the volume. The sound persisted. Drip, drip, drip. Then, faintly, through the laptop speakers, though no video played, came a whisper she recognized. "Stay with us." Evelyn's heart froze. She reached to shut the lid. The cursor moved on its own, scrolling to the end of the upload queue. A new file had appeared. Timestamp, 2:47 a.m. file name, Ashley_return.mp4. The room was silent, except for the low hum of the laptop. Evelyn and Lily sat side by side on the edge of the motel bed, the glow of the screen painting their faces pale blue. The new file blinked in the folder. Ashley_return.mp4. "No thumbnail, just a black square," Lily whispered. "It's a virus. Don't open it." Evelyn's fingers hovered over the trackpad. "It uploaded on its own, Lily. That means someone, or something, has access to my channel." The words, "someone or something," hung in the air. She double-clicked. The screen stayed black for a full 5 seconds, then static, then the sound of wind. A camera, handheld, came into focus. The image was shaky, low-res, time-stamped November 13th, 1999, 22:14:08. Lily inhaled sharply. That's Ashley's missing camcorder. The picture showed headlights cutting through snow. A young woman's voice whispered, "Dad, if you find this, I'm okay. I'm just helping someone by the mill. He says his truck's broken down." The camera tilted, showing the man's silhouette ahead of her. The image jittered, audio warped, then black. When the picture returned, the view was underground, water dripping off a concrete wall. Someone, possibly Ashley, was breathing fast, whispering through sobs. They said they keep the voices here. I heard. The video glitched violently. Faces appeared, half-formed, white against black. Then, in one sudden frame, the camera caught a hand wearing a sheriff's ring closing over the lens. Cut to static. The next frame was dated March 4th, 2025, 1952, the night after the fire. The image was the motel room itself. Evelyn froze. The camera was filming them. "How is that?" Lily began, but the screen flickered again. Now the shot moved closer, as if the camera were hovering inches behind their shoulders. In the video, Evelyn looked directly at the lens, right at them, right now, eyes hollow, lips pale. Video Evelyn. "You opened it." The speakers crackled. The pitch of her own voice doubled through the room, echoing off the walls. Video Evelyn. "You shouldn't have come here." Lily slammed the laptop shut. The sound cut off instantly. They sat in darkness, hearts racing. For a moment, neither dared breathe. Then Evelyn whispered, "It recorded us before we opened it." The radiator hissed again, steady, rhythmic. The dripping had returned. Lily grabbed her phone to call Nate. No signal. Evelyn reopened the laptop, hands trembling. The desktop was blank, no icons, no files. Just a single line of text pulsing across the center of the screen, "Under the stone." Then the speakers hissed one last time, and Ashley's voice, soft, calm, almost gentle, filled the room. "Thank you for listening." The screen went black. Outside, sirens wailed faintly in the distance. The motel's lights flickered. Evelyn stood, staring at her reflection in the darkened window. For a heartbeat, another figure stood beside her, a girl with snow in her hair, smiling faintly before fading away. Lily whispered behind her, "Tell me you saw that." Evelyn didn't answer. She reached over, unplugged the camera, and pressed delete on the remaining folders. Some cases don't close. They keep breathing through whoever hits play. The screen dimmed to black, but across the internet, the upload continued. Somewhere, on thousands of devices, Ashley_return.mp4 began to autoplay in the recommendation feed, and in every clip, buried under static, a single whisper looped beneath the outro music. "Stay with us." Snow blanketed the quarry ruins in a still, deceptive peace. The burn had erased nearly everything: the tire tracks, the machinery, the evidence. Yet, when the basin drained, they found 6 bodies buried in the ash. 2 were identified: Jim Ellison, missing since 1999, and an unnamed young woman believed to be one of the voices from the recovered tapes. The rest remained silent, too damaged to name, their bones marked by heat and time. By the time the discovery reached national news, Evelyn Hart was gone. Her motel room was found empty except for her laptop, its screen fractured and battery dead. On the mirror above the sink, she had left a single line written in black marker: "Truth doesn't rest in peace. It keeps recording." Lily Dunn, now going by her mother's surname, Barrett, stayed behind. She gave her final interview to a late-night podcast, her voice trembling but steady. "People think we made it up," she said. "But my dad, Ashley, All of them. They're proof that sometimes the dead talk back. You just have to listen long enough. 2 days after the episode aired, it vanished from every platform. The host's channel was deleted, his feed replaced by a dead link titled /Under the Stone. Reporters swarmed the town for weeks, but officials refused to speak on record. The official cause of the fire was listed as an industrial accident. Sheriff Winter's name was buried in legal silence, and no one mentioned the experiments again. Still, someone leaked a document, an old research grant tied to subterranean acoustics and anomalous resonance phenomena. No agency claimed it. A blurry security video surfaced briefly on a conspiracy forum. Evelyn in a snow-covered parking lot, walking into a library in Idaho. She checked out one book, Subterranean Acoustics, Patterns of Resonance in Limestone Structures. She never returned it. The footage was removed within hours. Months passed. Lily moved to Portland and began teaching photography. Her students often mentioned the faint hum in her lecture recordings, a low vibration like wind under stone. She laughed it off as microphone interference, but sometimes caught herself listening too closely to the silence afterward. On YouTube, the Quarry Voices documentary froze at 29,812,463 views. The comments were locked. The description changed one night to a single line. For Ashley. For all of them. Upload complete. Below the frozen frame, the autoplay timer began its silent countdown. Another video loaded automatically. No title, no thumbnail. Static filled the screen. The faint outline of a woman forming within the distortion. A voice spoke softly, almost kind. If you're watching this, you've already heard us. The screen flickered once more, then went black. Outro music played quietly through the static. Subscribe for more true stories.